Life was just chugging along, normal as could be, until my brother, Finn, dropped that bombshell about his new wife moving into our family home. Suddenly, everything fell off, like the ground shifted, then their business started to struggle, and I just watched it all unfold from a distance. Little did they know, I was quietly taking over their business, step by careful step, because of how they treated me and our family's legacy. And now, well, things are a lot different. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. Life had a rhythm to it after Mom and Dad passed, a quiet hum that Finn and I settled into. Our family home, a sturdy old place with a big, rambling yard, felt like an extension of them, full of their stories and their laughter. We had grown up in those rooms, learning the ropes of Green Grove landscaping, the business they'd built from nothing. I loved that business, honestly. From the smell of freshly cut grass to the satisfying thud of healthy soil, every bit of it felt like home, too. I was the one who knew the client names by heart, remembered Mrs. Henderson's favorite azaleas, and could tell you exactly what kind of fertilizer Mr. Davies needed just by looking at his lawn. Finn, he was good at the heavy lifting, the big projects, but the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, that was me. I handled the books, scheduled the crews, dealt with suppliers, everything. He trusted me, I thought. We were a team, or so I believed. My name is Anya, by the way. I was 28 then, Finn was 32. We had always been close, even with our different ways of doing things. He was impulsive, I was steady. It worked. For years, it worked. Then Serena came along. Finn had only known her for, 6 months? Maybe 7? Before he announced they were getting married. I remember him sitting me down at the kitchen table, a huge grin on his face. "Anya, I have big news," he said, practically bouncing in his chair. I smiled back, happy for him, genuinely. He'd been single for a while, and I wanted him to find someone good. "I asked Serena to marry me," he blurted out, holding up a ring that glittered a little too much. My smile faltered just a touch. Serena. I'd met her a few times at casual dinners. She was striking. Blonde hair, always perfectly styled, sharp eyes that seemed to size you up rather than greet you. She laughed a lot, a tinkling sound, but it never quite reached her eyes, if that makes sense. I just had a weird feeling about her, a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. But she made Finn happy, truly happy, and that was what mattered, right? So I hugged him, told him congratulations, tried to push down the unease. "That's wonderful, Finn. I'm so happy for you," I said, trying to sound convincing. He beamed. "She's going to move in here with us after the wedding, until we find our own place," he added, almost as an afterthought. That's when the first real jolt hit. Our family home. My home. Serena moved in a month after the wedding. She arrived with mountains of boxes, designer furniture, and an attitude that screamed takeover. The first thing she did? She declared that Mom and Dad's old bedroom, the biggest one with the bay window, the one I had painstakingly kept exactly as they left it, a little sanctuary of memories, was going to be their room. Not hers and Finn's, but hers. "It has the best light for my morning routine, darling," she said to Finn, with a sweet smile that didn't include me. She said it like I wasn't even there, standing in the doorway, my heart sinking. Finn just shrugged, a little uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything. "Oh, Anya, I'm sure you don't mind moving your little desk out of there, do you? You can use the guest room," she chirped, turning to me, a fake nice smile plastered on her face. My little desk. That was where Mom taught me to balance the books, where Dad helped me draw out landscape plans. It was my legacy, my connection to them. I bit my tongue hard. "No, Serena, I don't mind," I said, my voice flatter than I intended. I tried to sound reasonable, but inside, I was already feeling the sting of being an outsider in my own home. Then it started with the business. Serena, who had never so much as weeded a flower bed in her life, suddenly became an expert in landscaping. "Anya, darling, those uniforms are so drab. We need something more modern, more chic," she declared during a meeting right in front of our oldest crew member, Old Man Silas, who looked utterly bewildered. Silas had worn the same type of uniform for 30 years. And this branding? Green Grove? So provincial. We should be Serene Gardens or something more upscale. She started sitting in on our client meetings uninvited, interjecting with wildly impractical ideas, like suggesting exotic plants that wouldn't survive a single winter here. One time, during a presentation to a big new client, a developer looking for an entire housing complex's landscaping, Serena actually interrupted me mid-sentence. I was explaining our sustainable irrigation system, something I was truly proud of, something I'd researched and implemented myself. She leaned forward, flashing a dazzling smile at the client, Mr. Albright. "Oh, but Mr. Albright," she purred, "Finn and I were just discussing a much more artistic approach. Imagine a cascading water feature right here," and she pointed vaguely at the blueprints, completely missing the practicalities. Mr. Albright looked from her, to Finn, to me, a confused frown on his face. He ended up going with another company. Finn, bless his naive heart, thought she was bringing fresh energy. "She's just excited, Anya. Give her a chance," he'd say whenever I tried to talk to him, his eyes glazing over with that newlywed glow. But it wasn't fresh energy, it was a wrecking ball. She started ordering expensive, unnecessary equipment, flashy trucks with custom decals, all on the company dime. Our profit margins, which I had carefully maintained for years, started shrinking. I brought it up to Finn, showing him the numbers, the spreadsheets. He just waved a hand. "Don't be such a penny pincher, Anya. We need to invest to grow. Serena says so." He was completely under her spell. And the worst part? She slowly, subtly, started cutting me out of everything. First, it was the client meetings. "Finn and I can handle this, Anya," she'd say, a sugary smile covering the venom. Then it was the supplier negotiations. "Oh, I found a much better deal, darling, don't worry your head about it." Eventually, I was relegated to just managing the crews, the grunt work, the things Serena considered beneath her. The humiliation wasn't just about the business, though. It seeped into my home, too. She changed the living room furniture, replaced Mom's beloved antique quilt with a generic, modern throw. She threw out Dad's old, comfortable armchair, saying it clashed. Every corner of the house that had been a comfort, a memory, was slowly erased. I was living in a stranger's house, watching my family's legacy, both the home and the business, being dismantled by a woman who saw only dollar signs and Instagram-worthy aesthetics. One evening, I overheard her on the phone, talking to a friend. "Oh, the sister-in-law? She's harmless. A bit of a busybody, but Finn handles her. We just let her do the dirty work, you know? She's not exactly, shall we say, executive material." Her laugh, that tinkling, cold sound, followed me to my room. That was it. That was the moment. I sat on my bed, staring at the walls that once felt so safe, now closing in on me. I felt small, dismissed, a ghost in my own life. Finn, my brother, my partner, had let this happen. He had chosen her over me, over our parents' memory, over everything. That night, tears streamed down my face, but with each tear a cold, clear resolve hardened inside me. They wanted to humiliate me? They wanted to take everything? Fine. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I started making phone calls late at night, when everyone else was asleep. I started planning. The humiliation was a bitter pill, but it also tasted like fuel. It lit a fire in me, a slow, burning ember that whispered, no. Not like this, I couldn't just pack my bags and leave. This wasn't just their business or their house, it was our parents' legacy. It was mine too. And Serena, with her fake smiles and sharp edges, was destroying it. Finn, bless his oblivious heart, was just an innocent bystander, blinded by love or something akin to it. I knew I couldn't confront them directly. Serena would just twist my words, make me out to be the jealous sister-in-law. Finn would just side with her. So, I decided on a different path. A quiet one. A path that started with careful observation and ended with undeniable action. I began to watch Serena like a hawk, noting every careless decision, every wasteful expense, every client she alienated with her grand, impractical visions. My first step was to protect myself. I updated my resume, not because I planned to leave, but because I needed to remind myself of my own worth, my skills. I had run Green Grove for years, practically single-handedly after Dad got sick. I knew the numbers, the clients, the nuances of the business better than Finn, and certainly better than Serena. I used my savings, modest but steady, to rent a small office space a few towns over. It was nothing fancy, just a room with a desk and a phone, but it was mine. This was where Evergreen Solutions was born. A new name, a new entity, but built on the same principles of dedication and quality that Mom and Dad had instilled in me. I registered it legally, quietly, making sure every detail was perfect. This wasn't about revenge in a petty way. It was about protecting what was right, what was earned. I started by reaching out to some of Green Grove's oldest, most loyal clients, the ones Serena had either ignored, offended, or tried to strong-arm into expensive, unnecessary projects. Mrs. Henderson, whose azaleas I cherished, was my first call. "Anya, dear, I was just thinking about you," she exclaimed, her voice filled with relief. That new woman, Serena, she tried to convince me to rip out all my hydrangeas for some modern art installation. Can you imagine? I listened, empathized, and then, gently, offered her a solution. "Mrs. Henderson, if you ever feel like you're not getting the service you deserve, I've actually started my own small landscaping consulting firm. I'd be honored to help." I didn't badmouth Green Grove, I simply offered an alternative, a better, more personal service. And one by one, they came. Small clients at first, then larger ones, tired of Serena's overblown promises and underdelivered results. I kept all the original client records for Green Grove on my personal laptop, not theirs, so I knew exactly who to contact and what their needs were. It was easy to transfer them over, almost too easy. Meanwhile, back at the family home, the tension grew. Serena was spending money like water. New office furniture, even though the old was perfectly fine. A lavish company retreat at a fancy resort that yielded zero new business. She even hired a new marketing consultant, her cousin, who knew nothing about landscaping, at an exorbitant fee. Finn, still caught in her web, would occasionally express a flicker of worry. "Anya, are you sure these numbers are right? Our profits really are down, huh?" he'd ask, looking at the quarterly reports I still, inexplicably, prepared. I'd simply nod, showing him the cold, hard facts. "Yes, Finn. We're spending more than we're making. And we've lost 3 major contracts this quarter." Serena would always swoop in, though, dismissing my concerns. "Oh, Anya, you're such a worrywart. These things fluctuate. We're growing, darling, growing. You just don't have a vision for expansion," she'd say, patting Finn's arm reassuringly, and he'd fall back into line. It was frustrating, watching her dig their grave, but it was also part of my plan. I needed them to fall, completely, for my own success to feel truly earned, truly justified. The midpoint reversal came when I made my move on a crucial asset. The small nursery plot, just outside of town, where Green Grove grew its own plants and stored its heaviest equipment, was technically separate from the main business office. It was something Dad had bought years ago, a side investment. Serena, in her haste to liquidate assets to cover other expenses, decided to sell it. She didn't realize how vital it was to the operation. She just saw a quick cash injection. "It's just a plot of dirt, Anya," she'd scoffed when I'd subtly suggested it might be important. "We can just buy plants from wholesalers." I, however, knew its true value. It was the heart of Green Grove's self-sufficiency. I approached the real estate agent discreetly, using Evergreen Solutions funds. I bought it. It took every penny I had, plus a substantial loan, but I bought the nursery plot. It was a risky move, but a calculated one. The paperwork was complex, the ownership transfer quiet, and completely legal. They wouldn't even know it was me until much, much later. I finally moved out of the family home a few weeks after that, citing the need for my own space and claiming I was going to try my hand at freelance consulting. Finn seemed a little sad, but Serena practically pushed me out the door. "Oh, finally, some peace and quiet," she'd muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. That month, Green Grove missed payroll for a small portion of their crew for the first time. Not the whole crew, but enough to cause a ripple of panic. I heard about it through the grapevine from a former colleague. Serena blamed administrative errors. Finn looked utterly defeated. The clients I had quietly taken, the nursery plot I now owned, it was all adding up. Green Grove was bleeding money fast. My own Evergreen Solutions, on the other hand, was thriving. My new office, once a bare room, was now filled with happy clients, new employees, and a sense of purpose. I was making more money than I ever had, and it was all mine, earned through hard work and integrity. Watching their downfall accelerate was a bitter sight, but I couldn't deny a sense of grim satisfaction. They had chosen greed and disrespect over loyalty and family. Now, they were facing the consequences. The collapse of Green Grove wasn't a sudden crash, but a slow, agonizing unraveling. Like a plant drying up, leaf by leaf, until nothing was left but a brittle husk. Finn and Serena were in full panic mode now, but it was too late. They were bouncing checks, delaying payments to suppliers, and scrambling to find new clients, not realizing many of their old ones were now happily contracting with Evergreen Solutions. The nursery plot, the one I had quietly purchased, became a major sticking point. Without their own plant stock, they were forced to buy from wholesalers at inflated prices, eating into what little profit they had left. When the bank started foreclosure proceedings on the main Green Grove office building, the building that was tied to so many of our family memories, Dad's first office, Mom's little bookkeeping nook, that's when they finally hit rock bottom. I heard it from a friend who still worked for their bank. The business was technically insolvent. Gone. They were truly penniless, with a mountain of debt. I knew it was only a matter of time before they came looking for me. They had burned every other bridge, exhausted every other option. They'd probably think I was their last resort, their easy fix. I just waited. And sure enough, a few weeks later, my doorbell rang, early on a Tuesday morning. I looked through the peephole. Finn, looking haggard and defeated, stood on my porch. Beside him, Serena, her perfectly coiffed hair a little messy, her designer clothes a little rumpled. She looked small. It was a sight I'd both dreaded and anticipated. I took a deep breath, straightened my blouse, and opened the door. Finn. Serena, I said, my voice calm, even. No emotion. Just a statement. Finn's eyes were bloodshot. Anya, please, can we talk? He stammered, his voice raspy. Serena just stared at me, her usual bravado completely missing. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. We need your help, she finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. Green Grove, it's gone. I stepped aside, letting them into my new apartment. It was a modest place, but it was clean, bright, and most importantly, it was mine. No ghosts of Mom and Dad, just my own new beginnings. I led them to the small living room. Sit down, I offered, gesturing to the sofa. They sat stiffly, like strangers. What happened? I asked, though I knew every painful detail. Finn buried his face in his hands. It's all gone, Anya. The bank, they're taking the office building. We have nothing left. Serena, she made so many bad calls, and I let her. He looked up at me, anguish in his eyes. We need you to come back, Anya. Please. We can save it together, like old times. Just tell us what to do. Serena, emboldened by Finn's plea, added, yes, Anya. You're so good with the numbers. We need your expertise. You can take over the finances again, just like before. Their desperation hung heavy in the air, thick and uncomfortable. I looked at them, truly looked at them. Finn, my brother, who had stood by silently as I was pushed aside. Serena, who had systematically dismantled our family's legacy for her own selfish desires. My heart was a stone, but my voice was steady. There is no Green Grove to save, I said. My words hung in the air, cold and definitive. It's gone. It's been gone for months, financially. You just didn't want to see it. Finn gasped. Serena sputtered. What are you talking about? We just need to reorganize. I shook my head. No. You don't understand. The client list you lost? The nursery plot you sold? I paused for a beat, letting the words sink in. They didn't just disappear, Serena. I acquired them. I walked over to a small, elegant cabinet and pulled out a thick envelope. My hands didn't tremble. I took out a single piece of paper, folded crisply, and held it up. This, I said, my voice carrying the weight of everything they had done, and everything I had built, is the deed to the nursery plot. Their eyes widened. Finn looked utterly bewildered. Serena's face, usually so composed, went pale. And then I pulled out another, thicker document, bound with a ribbon. This one, bigger, more official-looking. And this, I continued, my gaze unwavering, is the deed to the Green Grove office building. The one the bank was foreclosing on. I held it up. I bought it last month. It's now registered in my name. That was the moment. They froze. Absolutely, utterly froze. Their eyes were glued to the document in my hand, then darted to my face, then back to the paper. The $2 million property deed, plain as day, with Anya Petrov printed right on it. Serena's jaw dropped, literally. Finn just stared, mouth agape, comprehension slowly dawning in his bloodshot eyes. You bought it? Finn whispered, his voice laced with disbelief and a dawning horror. But how? I bought it with the profits from Evergreen Solutions, I explained, calmly, my own company, which now serves all the clients you pushed away. I laid the deeds gently on the coffee table. You wanted me out. You thought I was just a busybody, not executive material. You stripped me of my home, my work, my dignity. So, I protected what was left of our family's legacy, by taking it from your careless hands. I looked at Finn. You let her do it, Finn. You stood by and watched her destroy everything Mom and Dad built, everything I worked for. He didn't speak. He just looked from Serena, to the deeds, to me, and the weight of his mistakes finally seemed to crush him. Serena tried to find her voice, to argue, to manipulate. This is unfair, Anya. We're family, she stammered, but the words sounded hollow, without power. I cut her off, my voice sharp. Family protects family, Serena. You tried to ruin ours. I did what I had to do. I softened my gaze slightly, looking at Finn. The family home, that was next on your list, wasn't it? To sell it, to cover your debts. He flinched. I've made arrangements to secure that, too. It won't be lost. I wasn't cruel, not really. But I was firm. The old Green Grove was dead. Serena's reign was over. Evergreen Solutions is thriving. I've built something strong, something real. Finn, I said, after a long silence, if you are willing to learn, to work hard, to truly understand what building a business means, and to respect the people around you, I might have an entry-level position for you at Evergreen Solutions. But you'll start at the bottom. And Serena, I looked at her directly, you are not welcome in any part of my life, or my business, ever again. She stood up, her face a mask of fury and shame, and stormed out without another word. Finn just sat there, head in his hands, finally seeing the full scope of his betrayal, and my quiet, devastating triumph. I had lost a brother, maybe. But I had reclaimed my name, my legacy, and my power. I now lead Evergreen Solutions, a successful company built on the principles of quality and integrity that our parents always taught us. The old Green Grove office building is now my headquarters, fully renovated, filled with my team, thriving. The nursery plot supplies our needs perfectly. I walk through those rooms every day, not as a busybody, not as an afterthought, but as the owner, the visionary. It was a hard road, paved with tears and anger, but also with fierce determination. It taught me that sometimes, to save what you love, you have to be willing to tear down everything else. And holding that deed, knowing what I built from the ashes of their greed, that feeling of vindication, of justice, is stronger than any pain they ever inflicted. It wasn't about revenge in the end, not really. It was about making things right. It was about reclaiming my story. And it was about finally, truly, stepping into my own power. If you've ever had to fight for what's yours, to stand up for yourself when others tried to diminish you, then you know this feeling. What was the hardest thing you ever had to reclaim in your life? Tell me in the comments below.